Hey ladies, so today's quick mom question is how do I syringe feed my baby and why would I need to know? So, syringe feeding is exactly like it sounds. You're essentially just taking a syringe and feeding your baby. And this is just a medicine dispenser syringe that I got out of the infant Tylenol. The reason why you would want to know how to syringe feed your baby is if for any reason they are having difficulty nursing and for some reason you didn't want to introduce a bottle and you didn't want to maybe provide or cause nipple confusion, for example. So I actually had to syringe feed my baby because we had some challenges after he was born with nursing. But today, let's just get into how do you syringe feed if that's something that you need to do. So with syringe feeding, you are going to put your clean finger inside your baby's mouth and you want to put it where the soft part of your finger is actually touching the roof of their mouth. They should draw their finger into their mouth and you'll probably feel you should feel a suction happening, and then you're going to take your syringe with any milk or formula inside of it and you'll put this right next to your finger while they're nursing, and you want to make sure that they are drawing as though they were nursing before you start dispensing out of the syringe. Don't, go way too quickly. You just want to kind of feed a little bit at a time. One of the reasons why we ended up having to syringe feed for a short amount of time is because of latch, but also we use syringe feeding to help my son transition from being exclusively bottle fed for 6 weeks back to nursing. His tongue was in the wrong placement, so it was very painful for me to nurse with him. One thing that I did with syringe feeding that really helped is that when you syringe feed and you put your finger in their mouth, their tongue should be on the bottom part of your finger. So their tongue should be right here over the bottom part of their gums. And if their tongue is not over the bottom part of their gums, it's going to be really painful for you while you're nursing. So if they're not naturally doing that while you're syringe feeding, what you want to do, and I learned this from the lactation consultant, so if you're having challenges there, definitely seek out La Leche League. They were amazing as far as my personal experience. So if your baby's not putting their tongue over the bottom jaw, then what you want to do is you want to flip your finger. So it should be up like this. You want to flip it down. So then the soft part of your, finger is on their tongue, and you're going to press lightly on their tongue. You don't want to give them a gag reflex. So press lightly on their tongue and then draw your finger out. And that should essentially help their tongue come forward over their bottom part of their jaw line and cover their gum line. And then you can go back to syringe feeding. So every time that they're not drawing their tongue forward, then that's what the action you want to take. If they're not even placed in the right spot, then you don't even have to dispense milk. And you do that as many times as needed until they're in the right placement, and then you start syringe feeding. Now, if you're having another challenge with your baby for some reason with nursing, then of course, then your lactation consultant or a La Leche League or maybe your own pediatrician can provide some additional guidance. But that's definitely some things as far as positioning of where your finger needs to be, where their tongue needs to be, to help replicate the natural placement of nursing. And then for the syringe, you're just putting that right next to your finger. Now, sometimes if you can't, depending on the size of your syringe, like I said, this is just a medicine dispenser that I got out of the baby infant medicine box. So depending on the size of your syringe, if it's it has a really big top, then maybe you want to put it more so in the corner of their mouth while they're nursing. But essentially, you just want to make sure that they have enough inside their mouth so they're actually getting fed. Now, this does take a lot longer than nursing them or bottle feeding them, and so for depending on your unique situation, you might need to consider how long you should be syringe feeding for. For us, it was a couple of days until we decided to switch my son over to bottle feeding because of the challenges that we were experiencing. If you're having a really big challenge with nursing or pumping and something's not quite working, then I'll link up my episode where I kind of talk about my own experience and challenges with that. I kind of already briefly touched on that already in part of our conversation, but I think you might find that encouraging. So I'll link that up for you next. But if you have a quick question or a tough question, because that's what we talk about here, you can find a link where you can submit your question for a future episode in the description below. But hopefully I will see you and hang out with you again soon. It is so hot in here. I feel like I'm already starting to melt.